Welcome back to the Dice Tower, everyone. I have been super excited to get Coexist to the table. This one caught my eye because of the gorgeous artwork. It is just absolutely chock full of unique pieces of art. This is one of those where the art definitely comes first. There's an artist and they kind of built a game around conservation, trying to really showcase this art and just really kind of push this theme of conserving and taking care of the animals here. This is something that I love, a theme that grabbed my attention. Beautiful artwork all the way through. Super excited to get it to the table. Let me show you how it plays, and then I'm going to tell you what I think of the actual gameplay. So let's get started. In Coexist, players are going to be competing conservationists who are trying to save as many animals as possible in their own personal conservation area here. So it is going to be played over a series of turns in which you are going to be recruiting different animals, fulfilling their needs to hopefully save them. The end game is going to be triggered when somebody saves into their personal reserve their fifth animal. At that point, you'll take equal numbers of turns back to the starting player, and then you count your points to win. So it's just going to be kind of turn after turn doing one of three actions. The three actions are either going to be up here on the mission board, on your own personal conservation board, or a series of training or resource management. So let's talk about the three options on your turn. Start of your turn, the first turn of the game, you can only work up here on the mission board because you have nothing to do in your personal board or no resources to exchange. So the first turn you have to take up here. When you take this mission action up on the board, you can take up to all of the cards of one type. You can either take the resource cards, so in this case I could take one or both of these. You don't have to take all of them, so I could take all of these, and so I would take one of these and put it in my board, and take one of those and put it in my board. Each of these places on your board can house one type of resource and up to three of that resource, so I would have to do it like this, at which point these would be discarded, and then you would refill the board for the next player. The other thing you can do is take all or some of the animals that are available on the board into your conservation down here as well. Animals you can recruit, of course, have the animal picture on them, and you can take a total of animals up to the number that is currently still showing on your board. So right now the highest number in these greens are 10, so I can take a total value of up to 10. For example, I could not take this one that is 8 and couple it with this one that is 4, because that would be 12, which is more than the 10. So in this case, let's say I want to take these two here, which would be a total of 9, 5, and 4. I would put it on my board. So one of those two actions is the first option. Take all of one type of card or the other type of card, and then the play continues. The second option, which is again only available from your second turn on, is to work on your board or your conservation center here. You can do any number of actions in any order, and the actions you can do are you can assign your workers here. The needs of the card are up top in gray. In the gray up here. So for example, this lion here is going to need one of these resources, so maybe I would assign that to him, and you'll see that does open up this slot again for me taking more resources later. You can assign, you can reassign to different animals if you have them. You can discard one of the animals. Let's put it back by here. You can discard one of the animals. When you do that, you're going to take all the resources down in white. So if I did that, I would need to take this here. I would take the 2 water. I need to put them over here because that is a different resource. And then I would take another one of these. And then the 2 moons. The 2 moons are going to go down on the lower part of the board here. You will see as they go down here, they fill these slots up, which are going to do 2 things. It's going to take away your end game points, and it's going to reduce that number of cards that you can take, or the total value of cards and animals that you can take. So if you discard the card, you get the stuff in white. The other thing you can do when you take this action is you can fulfill an animal. So in this case, if I wanted to assign all this stuff that I just got to it, which is up here in these gray icons, as you can see, now I have fulfilled this animal's needs. I have met his training needs. I would be able to fulfill that, and I bring it down here into my tableau. And now I've completed 1 of the 5 necessary to trigger the end of the game. When you do that, you're going to get a number of victory points at the end of the game, and then you're going to get some ability. They're either going to be ongoing or instant abilities, like what you see right here, and there is a wonderful player aid included, which is going to tell you what all of those means. So if it's instant, you would take it. If it's ongoing, you would just be aware of it and put it down to show that you have now completed 1. So again, that's the second action you can take is down here, and you can do any of those 3 things. Assign the workers, discard the card for the resource, or fulfill the card. Any number of those in any order. The last thing you can do is you can train your workers, and that is really your resource management. So that is where you can trade. If we look here at the player aid, you can upgrade any of your tokens. So you can, for example, you can trade out 2 of these for a water, and so on and so forth. This whole action is just changing those resources. So again, you're going to take a number of turns. Do 1 of those 3 actions each turn, round and round the table until someone gets their 5th animal, or the draw pile is empty. At that point, you finish for equal number of turns, and highest points wins. Points are going to come from completed animals, the total of all the points still showing on your board down here on the bottom part, and your own special ability. Each conservation or faction, if you will, is going to have its own way to score. For example, this one here is gain 1 victory point per animal left in the draw pile and on the mission board. So hopefully if you have this one, for example, you don't want the game to end by drawing the last card there. You want to kind of rush it a little bit quicker. So that's going to be it for Coexist. Let's go back up top and we'll talk about what I thought. Out of the gate here, let's waste no time. I love the production of this. I think it is a really cool idea. I think it's coupled with a fantastic artist. This artist himself is self-taught. He developed his own painting style. He calls it paint tags. You see it throughout where, up close the images don't really look like anything, but as you pan out, it kind of comes together. I really enjoy not just this style of art, but the way it is really represented through the whole game here. I think that it is also unique and well placed in this theme. This is a theme that I am very attracted to. I love animals, I love conservation. Yeah, just all in all, that is right out of the gate fantastic. And a good production as well, especially for a multi-language game. All the components are French and English. So you have, the rule book is in both, and then you have the cards are universal language. You don't need any, but then the player aids are in both. And it comes with player aids that really do a great job of referencing or being able to be referenced as you're playing through. Very much needed. And that brings me to a negative. Very much needed because, oof, was this a hard one to get through. I read the rule book a couple different times before I was ready to play and really felt like I had a grasp on getting started. A lot of that had to do with the theme getting in the way. This is one that feels like it is a theme first. They had an idea they wanted to do and they built a game around it, and then never quite translated over to any technical writing. It's hard to understand the different zones of this game when it talks about, it never talks about specifically just discarding a card. You're releasing him into the common the common preserve or something like that, as opposed to releasing him into your personal reserve, which is you're not discarding the card, you're fulfilling the card. It just gets lost in the lingo of it. I don't speak French, so I don't know how much better the French is. Maybe there's a little bit of translation issue there. I can't speak to that, but the English one was kind of rough to get through. For such a simplistic gameplay, I would definitely put this in a light game category. If I thought it played any smoother, I would even call it like a welcoming game. It's that light. There's really just 3 things you can do on your turn. And while they are simple and distinct of what you can do, I still find myself getting lost. And every time I've taught this game, there's been that awkward moment where somebody tries to rearrange the resources. And it's like, no, you can't just freely rearrange the resources, which in this case are trainers that, have so that they're people here. But you can't just rearrange them freely. That's its own action, which is actually 3 compounded actions, which you can do in any order, but it's only 1. And you can't just freely trade resources, which unfortunately brings me to another negative. The resource management in this is frustrating. I would say it's very unintuitive. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I can train these workers, why does it take a whole action to do that? Why can't I just trade these 3 for this one, or these 2 for 1? I guess always a 2-for-1 ratio. That's really problematic, I find. It just halts the gameplay and really causes some frustrating moments. Now, I get, again, thematically why that makes sense. You're training the workers. They have this specialty and they're being trained into this new specialty. I get it thematically. I see why it's there. It's not fun. It really slows the gameplay down and just kind of feels like that gut punch the first time somebody realizes that and tries to do it. And that's ultimately kind of how I come down on this game. It feels like there's a lot of wasted turns. It's like, I guess I'm going to trade these resources this turn. I guess I'm going to take this action, which I can do these 3 things, but really I'm only going to do one of them. Or sometimes it feels like there's nothing I can do this turn because the center market is completely different resources than what I can take right now. So it just has a lot of limp turns and frustrating feelings. So I'm going to come down at a 5 on this, and I'll say most of that 5, unfortunately, is the art. That really is getting a huge boost for the art, for the theme, which I think is very well represented here, but just does not lead to a fun time. It's going to be frustrating. Even after that first play, there's just better games. So for me, this one was not a hit, which is sad because I was super stoked about it. Played it multiple times, multiple groups, taught it multiple times, and just not a hit. So this is one that I would give an unfortunate skip to. This is going to be Coexist. Thanks for joining me here on the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla, and we'll see you later.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.